Welcome, everybody, to the first ever unnamed, for now, Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Sean, and I'm here, as always, with Mike.
What it do?
Hey, what's up?
Not much.
So, for all you beautiful listeners out there, this is our very first episode. This obviously isn't the first ever Detroit Pistons podcast, but this is our first ever episode of a not weekly, maybe every game, maybe every other game. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Just depending on what, if there's important things to talk about, we'll break down the games that are happening, talk about the upcoming games. When big things happen, like yesterday's crazy trade deadline day, we'll talk about that. So, let's just get right into it. The Pistons in the Blake Griffin era are 5-0, 4-0 with Blake himself, but we won that first game without him with our, totally gutted lineup. We won that against the Cavs. So we're 5-0 now in Blake Superior's era. So how are you feeling? Let's just hear some overall thoughts on these past few games. Mike, how are you feeling about this so far in the Blake Griffin era?
I am feeling amazing, especially compared to that 8-game losing streak. That was a terrible time to be a Pistons fan. I know we had worse times with the Allen Iverson era, but just with the expectations with the beginning of the season, how we started out, we were in first place, and then we kind of, drifted along the second place of the East, right behind the Celtics. I was feeling confident.
That feels
we were
like
all
a
playing
season
together.
Away. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
but that feels like it's forever away.
It does. And then you get to, December, and we don't really win a game throughout the entire month until the very end. And then, everything, Reggie Jackson goes down with that horrible, grade 3 ankle sprain. And then you're like, oh my gosh, this is the Reggie Jackson we know, just getting hurt all the time. You're like, what's going to go, what's going to happen? Ish Smith's playing. Then we got G Leagues filling in for the backup spot. And it's just, chaos. And as being a Detroit fan, I'm just kind of thinking, what's next? The trade deadline's coming up. I'm hoping we do something. I heard Kemba Walker was on the trade deadline, a couple other point guards, maybe thinking we'd get rid of Reggie or something, but I think it just kind of shocked everyone. The Blake Griffin trade, it was out of nowhere. I never expected us to get a player of his caliber to come to Detroit, and I'm just excited for it. And you can tell that the team they're just so excited to play with them, and they're very welcoming and bringing them in, and the chemistry's already there. They all get along. You could see it in the post-game interviews. They're spraying them with water and just having a good time, and it seems like he's happy to be in a place that wants him and embraces him, because I think the city of Detroit has been wanting a star player for some long time. So, yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with everything that you said. Seeing that, I think it was after his first game in the post-game interview, when Dre and Reggie sprayed him with all that water. That was cool.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's unnecessary. It just feels like a different era, because we didn't just get any normal player. We got a superstar in Blake Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
So, and after each game, especially after the game yesterday against the Nets, we're recording this, by the way, on February 9th. I guess I should have stated that just so people know where we are in the season. It's pretty obvious what I'm saying, 5-0 and all that stuff. But just we're recording this the day after February 9th. The game wasn't yesterday. I guess it was 2 days ago. But anyway, just to see Dre and Blake, how they interact with each other after the game, they look, at least on the court and in front of the camera, they look like they have great chemistry and that they're all buddy and stuff, which is something that you like to see, especially looking back to the 04 Pistons era when Rip and Chauncey and Tayshaun, all those guys looked like they were such a tight group that you like to see that, where they're not just business partners basically.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's fun. It brings, some excitement, and it's fun to see them play together as a team. They're sharing the ball. It just looks like they're having fun. So it's fun to watch too.
Yep, and it's transferring on the court because they're 5-0, so they're not just having fun and just doing whatever.
Yeah.
It just feels like there was a moment in the Nets game where Stanley Johnson celebrated, and then he got yelled at by Stan Van Gundy because he didn't get back. And I hate, one of my biggest pet peeves is unnecessary celebration during the game, but you can kind of see it in everybody, how they're playing and how they're carrying themselves on the court, that it just feels like an elevated team, and we don't even have our starting point guard. So Stanley seems to be more aggressive. Langston Galloway has been shooting with a lot more confidence. Ish Smith has been tearing it up in Reggie's role. I think just overall how everyone's playing, like Blake offered us like such a great shot of adrenaline outside of like his obvious court talent.
Yeah, definitely. It's you can see it on the bench too. Like their bench has always been a great bench because a lot of people don't give this guy credit, but Anthony Tolliver is one of my favorite players on the Pistons, and he always has been.
Yeah, I love him. He'll dive for the ball when they're up 40 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he's just the he's the dirty work, the blue collar. He's the glue guy. He keeps everyone together. He's also the vet, so he can help out the young guys. He's just a true professional, like on and off the court. He, he's never someone that Stan Van Gundy has to worry about doing his job on and off the court, and I think he just helps us. He's like that guy that that every winning team, successful team needs.
Yep, and he's a great 3-point shooter to boot.
He does his role to the best of his abilities.
Yep, that 4-point play that he had in the Nets towards the end of the game yesterday was huge. He nailed that 3 and then took a nice foul. Like, it wasn't just some garbage foul. He like literally got knocked down and drained the 3. That was like towards the end of the game. The Pistons had a great final 2 minutes. Like, I think the game overall was really back and forth, but that last 2 minutes really showed their hunger and need to win. And they obviously didn't dominate the last 2 minutes, but they might have. Yeah, you might be able to say that they dominated the last 2 minutes. Like, they really pulled away at the end and did everything right. They were making every shot. They were like getting back on D. It was just great to see them play at that level, considering like you mentioned already, the 8 straight losses that we had.
Yeah, Blake Griffin it was like what we used to do all the time is we defer to Reggie Jackson late in games, and we would have to depend on him to get buckets. But this past game, it was a hard fight, and I think it was the game. This was the game where he got 11 points, most of his points. So I think he had 11 in the fourth, and we just kept giving him the ball. And then like after they would ISO him, and it's nice to have all those shooters around him because we can spread the floor out and give him space to work in case they double team. We can knock down that 3. And also a nice thing about Blake is that he can hit the 3 too, so it keeps people honest when they're guarding him. So like at the end of that game, he just stepped up in that 3 and knocked it down, and that was huge.
Yeah, that's like sorry, I'm gonna get closer to the mic. That's like a like it'd be nice to get. So Blake Griffin, you could say probably is still in his prime. He's probably on the downswing of it. Maybe. I mean, he could be at a new prime with the Pistons if like that's what he needed to jumpstart his career a little bit more. But towards the beginning of his career, when you could argue he was in like his athletic prime, he was not a 3-point shooter at all. But now he's added that to his repertoire over the past couple of years, and to see him be able to make those, like you said, it keeps his defenders honest. They have to actually like defend him around the 3-point line so he can like. And he's showed some really great handles too over the past few games. Like he's had some great like moves where he can get around defenders too. So like I don't know, he's just being able to do it all. He led our team in assists. I think in the last game he led our team with 7 assists. So they can't really draw on the double team too much because he's a great passer, so he can just kick it out to one of our guys who can shoot a 3 or to Dre. They've had a lot of good like. Not necessarily alley-oop moments, but just good moments where Blake will drive and be able to dish it off to an open Dre. And just all that, just everything about him just elevates the entire team, like the whole, just everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people compared, when we first heard about the Blake Griffin trade, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, but he played with DeAndre Jordan, so it's not going to be any different. But I believe that Andre Drummond and DeAndre Jordan are way two different players. They're way different than people think. Andre Drummond has a lot better ball skills. He can pass. He's a lot better scorer than DeAndre Jordan, and I'm excited to see their chemistry grow throughout the season, because in the very first game that Blake Griffin played, Stan Van Gundy said after the game, he's like, honestly, it's nice to see Blake Griffin feed Andre Drummond when he has him sealed off in the paint, because he's fed him more in this one game than I think we have all season. So it's nice to see, the two bigs work together, because they're definitely on the same page and they get along. They like it. Just everything about it is just great for basketball, especially for our team. So I'm excited to see where we're going from here.
Yeah, and Blake hasn't taken away from Andre's numbers at all. Like in the last game, he had 27 boards, which is an NBA high for the season. Of course, another quiet 27 boards because Andre could have a 30-30 game. It would take him having a 30-30 game for people to actually talk about it for more than 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
So 27 boards, 17 points, only 2 assists. That's like, I think that kind of goes with what he normally does. Obviously, he doesn't get 27 rebounds every game. But like in the game, I think it was just the game before that where he had another 20-20 game, but then he also had 4 blocks and 4 steals. So Blake being there isn't taking away from Andre at all. It's like elevating him even more. So because Blake Griffin is a good rebounder too, he's obviously not in Andre's league in rebounding, but he's like a good rebounder in his own right. So I think I don't know. We're being just so positive about everything and trying to like find a negative thing. It's like, no, they've covered that and they've like done it well. So yeah. It's a great time to be a Pistons fan. It sucks to turn on a game every other night and see that Little Caesars Arena is like 60% empty. This 5-game win streak will help. Having Blake Griffin will help. His jersey's selling well. And Detroit is obviously a sports town. Like, we're hockey town for the Red Wings, the Lions. Even though we've never won a championship, we have loyal, great fans and packed Ford Field. So it'll just be nice throughout the season if we keep going at this level to hopefully towards the end of the season when we make our playoff push to see that stadium really filling out. That's going to be awesome to see.
Yeah, it's definitely something that the city of Detroit needs. And I think to piggyback back on what you were saying about Blake Griffin, how he doesn't take away from Drummond, I think one of the most important things that he did add for the Pistons was the scoring aspect, because we've never really had a big scorer, especially when Reggie Jackson is out. We've lacked in that category. So I think that he keeps the defense, honest. He puts pressure on them. You can't really guard him one-on-one. You have to. Every game I've watched that we've played with Blake Griffin, they've had to double it or sink in on him, and it opens up so much for the rest of the team. So it's just nice to watch for our offense, because our offense has been so stagnant, especially watching it as a Pistons fan for many years. So it's nice to have a big scorer on our team, for sure.
Yeah, like a big scorer for sure. He's like basically guaranteed 20 points a night at least, unless he has a terrible game. He got 25 against the Nets. He's a highlight reel dunker. Like, we haven't had that in my entire life, basically, as a Pistons fan. And I mean, Ben Wallace could obviously jam it every now and then, a lot. But like a highlight reel guy, it's nice to see that in Blake Griffin. Yeah, I don't know. One thing that was really annoying to watch in more than one way, in the Nets game, they shot 51 threes.
Crazy.
And I know the NBA is way, way more threes oriented than ever, but seeing 51 threes being shot, it was almost annoying. Like, I kept putting myself in the Nets like head coach's shoes and just wondering like what I would think of my team shooting 51 threes. That would be like, I mean, they almost won, but that would just be infuriating. Almost like it seems like so many of the threes were just like from defeated possessions, or like, I don't know. That was just too much for me. 51 threes was way out of hand.
Yeah, it looked like I was watching the Houston Rockets there, just shooting 50 to 70 threes a game. It's just ridiculous where the NBA is going, and you don't really see highlight dunks anymore because of how the game's shifting so much.
Yeah, like your centers are shooting threes. Like having the stretch big is such a big thing. That's why I think if Andre was in the league maybe 10 years ago, he would still be a great rebounder, obviously, but he wouldn't be far and away the best in the league. But now I think when he's playing against so many stretch bigs and centers that like can't like not camp, but they like sit more around the 3-point line, and that's what they're good at. Like, he's able to just like dominate these guys and get 27 rebounds. So
definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about what's been happening in the last 24 hours, the craziness?
Yeah, we can go into that. I think we've talked about the last game enough. Yeah. So what did you want to start with the trade deadline? Do you want to start with the moves that the Pistons made, or just the insanity that was the entire day?
I just want to say, if you are an NBA fan and you didn't pay attention to yesterday and what happened, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
Because literally, I have the notifications for Twitter. Like, it was like anywhere. I had like probably like 5 different notifications. So every time there was a trade, I was reading it, I was watching, I was seeing what was going on. And from about 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., probably every other minute, my phone was going off with some kind of crazy trade. And it was so hard to keep up with, but it was so exciting. It was like NBA free agency in the summer, but times 10 because, you're watching for your team and what trades they can make. And it was a huge shift in the NBA, and a bunch of teams have a new look. And that's what I love about the NBA is you never know what to expect. It's a business, it's a business league just like any other sport, but things change so drastically, especially nowadays. It's not really about loyalty like there was back in the day. Players still got traded, but there's just so many different avenues and different ways that players can go to a contender, or they want money, or it's just not working out with the team. There's drama, or they want to go to a bigger market, a smaller market. There's just so many different factors, and it's exciting. And I was definitely watching for my Detroit Pistons, but it was exciting to see all the teams and all the moves that happened. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I got home from work yesterday at around like 2:30 or so. So at that point, a lot of stuff had already happened. When I got out of work, I came home and opened up Twitter and saw that like so many things were happening because it was the trade deadline. So I was expecting like a couple big moves to happen, or at least one, like something. So I opened up Twitter and then I see that so much is already going down. And then like things are still happening, and like trades are still trying to be made. And what's that guy's name from ESPN? Like Adrian something.
Adrian, well, I just call him Woj.
Yeah, that guy. He's just like, he probably gained like 500,000 Twitter followers yesterday.
Exactly.
Just tweeting. His phone is blowing up every 2 seconds. Like, it was just crazy. Seeing the Cavaliers completely blow up their team and still have like a good team in the end. They got rid of like so many big names, basically everybody except LeBron, J.R. Smith, and Kevin Love. And Kevin Love's out with an injury, I know, but sending D-Wade to the Heat, sending Isaiah Thomas to the Lakers, but then they're able to get 4 solid guys, young guys that like LeBron can play well around. I think LeBron is better when he doesn't have other stars on his team. Obviously, like, it's nice to have other stars, and he did really well in Miami with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. But like, I think this is good for them. It kind of sucks, like, as a Pistons fan, of course, and another side note, this is obviously, like, a very biased Pistons podcast. Like, this is more Pistons-oriented than the entire NBA. But, yeah, so I think they are still safe in their second-place spot in the East, and will, of course, they'll be contenders now. They didn't just plan for the future. They're still in the now very much. So the Lakers, I think, had good moves, picking up Isaiah Thomas and freeing up a lot of cap space, so then they can do 2 max deals this offseason, so they're preparing for the near future too. It was just, I don't know, it was just crazy. I wish the Pistons could have made like one more big-time move, but I think picking up Jameer Nelson and Ennis, I think, is like, they're good moves, but like, because we got Blake Griffin last week, it just seems like such minor moves.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely is exciting to watch, and it makes you just wonder, after seeing what the Cavs did, it kind of just reassures me that LeBron doesn't want to be there, and the Cavs are trying everything to basically get their ex-girlfriend back, yeah. Which is LeBron, because they already know that like it's just a disaster there. Him and the owner Dan Gilbert don't get along, and LeBron's basically player / coach / GM / owner / whatever he wants. So they're going to do whatever they can to please him. But in the end, if they don't win a championship, or he doesn't like or see where the organization is going, if it's not going the right way he wants, I'm pretty sure he's going to be out this next summer too. So
yeah, I agree. What do you think of the prospect of him and Paul George going to the Lakers?
I think it is very interesting, especially with LeBron having a home in LA and he works out there in the summers. I'm sure that he likes the huge market. He's got to be sick of being in such a small market in Cleveland. I'm pretty sure, my opinion is that he just went back there to, revive his legacy.
Yeah, and he's from there, so that helps for sure.
Yeah, and it is home, but I think he just kind of wanted to make people not hate him. And all that huge riff, he kind of wanted to, meet ends with it. But I think now that he got him a championship, personally, if I was LeBron and I was in the situation after the decision and I didn't, because there's no way I would have done what he did for the decision. But if I was in that situation he is in now, I probably would have actually left after the first championship, because I think in his mind he probably stayed there because he thought maybe he could win another one. But after I saw like Durant go to the Warriors, I'd be like, you know what? Maybe I should go and rebuild another, big three team somewhere else, like in LA. So I think that's what he might do. There's people talking about him maybe retiring for a year to, just to save his finals record. But I think all that stuff is ridiculous, the finals record, because it's such an amazing accomplishment to even get there. I don't think you should hold it against someone because they lost in the finals, because a lot of people say Jordan was undefeated in the finals, but how many times did he miss playoffs?
Yeah, that's true. In basketball, like, I hate when people put so much on one guy.
Exactly.
Like saying LeBron James is what would his record be? What is his record in the finals right now? It's like,
I think it's 3-7.
the fact that he's if that is
3-6,
3-6, the fact that he's made it 8, 9, 10 times, however, like, you can't put it on him, like, to say LeBron James is 3-6 or 3-7 in the finals. Like, that's his team is that. Like, I know basketball probably more than any other sport is like one guy can definitely change the game, and especially a player of LeBron's caliber. But like, I don't know, you can't just put it on him. Getting there is hard enough, and especially when you're going against teams like the Warriors, like, you can't really fault one person for losing that game. He can only do so much as one player. Like, he can't average like 30 and 30 every game. Like, he's gonna have to, like, he's good for 30 points. Obviously, he's gonna get close to a triple double every game. Like, it's not, you can't put it all on him that he loses. And I'm not like a big LeBron fan. I don't hate him at all, but I'm not a big fan. But like, it's just not just with him, but with so many players, it's annoying to have everybody put so much on one guy.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna interject. I was wrong about that. He's 3-5. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
After researching it,
that's even better. So
yeah,
like, I mean, making it 8 times is crazy. Winning it 3 times is crazy. Like, in one of those losses against the Warriors with Kevin Durant. So it's like, I don't know what you expect.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't fault him for it. I know a lot of people just hate him just because he's LeBron, and I understand like the crying for calls and stuff. But if you're an NBA player, period, you're probably crying for calls. That's just the nature of the league.
Yeah. That's still my biggest pet peeve of the game is like how many fouls there are and how many, like, on every non-foul there's somebody crying about it.
Yeah, you even look at players like Steph Curry, or even once you get to a certain point in a certain tier of like being a player like this, being like a star caliber, you're gonna cry for calls because it's just like a spoiled child. If you don't give him what he wants, then he's gonna cry. So I think it's just, you see Westbrook, you see any player, they're gonna cry for calls if they don't get it.
Yeah. Going back real quick to the Paul George Lakers deal, like, Paul George just came to Oklahoma City this year, right? So that was he only has 1 year in his contract.
I'm trying to think. I know that he definitely has the option to leave after this. I don't know if he has a player option or he's a free agent. I'm not sure.
Okay, so like, I don't know. It's weird that him and Melo just went to Oklahoma City, and then like, it's just weird that him of all people is in the discussion with to be with LeBron in LA, and then that would be a new crazy team with Isaiah Thomas, LeBron James, Paul George. And then Lonzo Ball, like, not that Lonzo Ball is like a really, really great player, but just he obviously has a lot of eyes on him and a lot of attention. So for all of that to then come to the Lakers, it'll be like a new era of LA, basically.
Yeah, so I guess might as well bring up, since we're talking about all these other teams, the Pistons actually made some moves too. They weren't any major moves besides the Blake Griffin trade, but yesterday they made some minor moves, which I think that they were very strategic. They were smart. They weren't giving up too much. They kept all their pieces of the squad that's winning right now. So I think it was smart to add to the thin depth that we had at the team. So if you want to explain and talk about which players they got, then.
All right, so they got Jameer Nelson, my boy from way back in the day. I used to love using him in 2K. I can't believe he's even still in the league. He was on the Bulls for a week, I think, from the Pelicans.
Mm-hmm.
So we got him. It's a solid backup point guard. Probably he'll be third string on our lineup. He's a good 3-point shooter. He'll probably be gone after this season anyway, but he's solid. So we now have 4, maybe 5, depending on how you look at Langston Galloway point guards, which is probably kind of make me sad that Bikes will probably never play anymore. And then we got James Ennis, who he'll be a solid backup small forward to, I'm pretty sure small forward, to Stanley Johnson, who
Yep.
he's a good 3-point shooter. He's good on D. He's like, if he was coming in to be a starter, then yeah, that seems pretty like really lackluster. But to be a good backup to Stanley Johnson, who's really stepped it up over these past couple weeks or past week. I like the moves because we're thin on the wings. We have so many point guards, but Jameer Nelson is a great player, and coming back with Stan Van Gundy is cool. And we got rid of Willie Reed, who because of like how he's been in the news over the past couple days, assuming the allegations are true and all that stuff, which they seem to be. I'm glad that we don't have something like that around our locker room.
Yeah, it's definitely smart to get rid of that distraction as soon as you can. I think that was brilliant to trade Willie Reed as fast as you could, just because you don't want to bring any negativity to all that positivity from the winning streak and Blake Griffin and everything, because even though he's not playing, you still just don't want a person with that type of character around your team. I'm not saying he's a bad person, but you just don't want problems, you know. So
Exactly. Maybe it would have been nice to get another center instead, because right now it seems like we have Drummond starting, obviously, and then when he comes out, Blake then shifts to the center position, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then our true backup center is Eric Moreland, who isn't exactly the best. Obviously, he's not bad, and like he has good hustle and everything, but Moreland would be better as like a third guy than our number 2 guy.
yeah,
And then especially with how many point guards we already have, it's just kind of like Jameer's a great player, but it's like it's kind of questionable to get another point guard, especially with Reggie coming back in the next 2 weeks or so, maybe 3 if we're unlucky, instead of another big guy.
exactly. Yeah, I think they just weren't sure about the Reggie Jackson, rehab, and it looks like he's been doing good. I saw him, do some running in the pool the other day, and he's getting shots up.
Just chilling with Reggie in the pool the other day.
Yeah, I just hang out with some of the stars sometimes when I'm on my off time.
Right.
But yeah, so they're just kind of they're using insurance just in case, and they don't want to rely on G Leaguers the entire time to play backup point guard. So it was a smart move to get a veteran. It would have been nice to get someone. I think the reason they didn't get someone with like real talent is because they just believed in Reggie eventually. So. And they didn't have the assets after trading for Blake Griffin. They didn't have the assets to get like a Kemba Walker or anything, especially because Michael Jordan wants everything in the bathroom sink for him. But I do like Jameer Nelson. He's familiar with the coach, Stan Van. He played for him. He is an older guy. He'll know how to run the offense, knock down the open three. He'll be serviceable. And then James Ennis will be an athletic 6'7" wing, like Sean said, behind Stanley Johnson, and he'll be able to spread the floor out with his shooting. So I'm definitely excited because we gave up next to nothing, giving up Bryce Johnson and Willie Reed. So they were riding the bench anyways, and it's probably better for both worlds. It's better for their career to go and maybe get some playing time somewhere else, and it's better for us to actually add something of value to our team for a playoff run. So
Exactly. And speaking of that playoff run, so we're on a 5-game winning streak now. But before this 5-game winning streak, we were in 9th place. 5 wins later, we're sitting comfortably in 9th place still. So we're 27-6. The 76ers are 26-5. We are playing the Clippers tonight, so that's not really going to help us in our wins against the East. It'd be nice to beat somebody in the Eastern Conference, but going forward, the talk around the league is that we seem to be a lock for at least a low seed now. But for me, this might just be me being a fan and being a little bit too optimistic, but we were in 2nd place for the good first month or so of the season, and the obvious difference is that Reggie Jackson got hurt, and that's when everything started going wrong. So insert Blake Griffin, we win 5 straight games. Reggie Jackson still isn't back. So I don't see why, like, Reggie coming back and assuming that he plays at a high level and everything else that we've been doing, then I don't see why we can't maybe sneak back up into the top 5 in the East. Because we beat, like, not only were we in second place, but we beat the Celtics, we beat the Warriors, we beat the Thunder. So, like, we didn't just get lucky and we're sitting up there. But again, I don't know. This might just be my, like, fan optimism. But yeah, it just sucks that we're in 9th place after, like, all this hype that's been happening. So hopefully we can extend that with a 6-game winning streak today against the Clips.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to get out of that 8-game hole by winning 5 in a row. But we definitely have to build on this. And it's the positive part of this is that we're in a very good position, especially being in the East.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of weaker teams that we can beat out. Like, we're essentially only 4 games out of being right where the Cavs are. And I'm not saying that will actually happen, especially with all the pieces that they've gotten. So they'll probably start playing better or explode, or implode, and they won't play well at all. You never know. But either way, we're only 4 games out of 3rd place. So you got the Cavs, the Bucks, the Wizards, Pacers, Heat, Sixers, and I think those are all beatable teams if we face any of them in the first round of the playoffs, especially if we get home court advantage. That would be nice. But I definitely am looking forward to this year. I think that we have the capabilities of being a strong force in the East. I'm not really scared of playing any team, which is weird.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
Yeah, like other years, like the past year or two, there was always teams you didn't really want to play. And obviously, we probably don't want to play the Celtics out of all the teams, but any other team I'm pretty comfortable with facing in the playoffs. So it's just exciting to be a Pistons fan, and I think that if they just get, the 7th spot or or 8th spot, just getting in is exciting to be a Pistons fan. But I think they definitely should get in this year, and once they do get in, and hopefully that chemistry is like fully built by that time, they still have, another 29 games, 29 games to go. So yeah, they have some time to build on this win streak and build on this chemistry and mesh together right before playoff time, and hopefully they're playing their best basketball by then.
Yeah, and like I agree that the only team I'd really be scared of is the Celtics, and every other team that I'm scared of is in the West. So we wouldn't face them until the finals anyway, and I don't expect to win the finals anyway because it'll probably be the Warriors in there, and if it's not, that'll be a miracle if it's not the Warriors, but I wouldn't go in expecting to beat the Warriors anyway.
Yeah, so, even though we beat them.
Yeah, we beat them, but beating them in a 7-game series is much, much different.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I'm definitely not scared of anybody. I'm going to the Bucks game on the 28th, and at first it's like, oh, the Bucks are a great team. They have the Greek Freak. Like, it'd be cool to see that live, but I would like to go to a game that we win. But I'm not really we can beat the Bucks for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
And you don't want to just pick against the worst team to go to that game. Just I don't know. And any team can win any game at any point. So.
Yeah, unless you're wanting to get a great deal on seats, then you go to the you go when they face the bad teams.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I got a pretty good deal.
Yeah, a lot of people want to go and see the good teams. That's people, even though they know they can get a good deal on the bad teams, they still want to go see the good teams, which is understandable. But for me, I've always been big on the experience. So I try to get it in the middle where I see a team, I still want to see their players, but I also get a good deal. So
yeah, I want to go see the Pistons win. I don't want to go see LeBron James ball out. I don't want to go see Steph Curry hit 15 threes. I want to go see the Pistons have a great game and win. I love the NBA, but I'm a Pistons fan way far and away. If Detroit didn't have a team, I don't know if I would watch that much. But so yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to that. But do you want to? Well, I guess before we move on, do you have anything else you want to say about the playoff race?
I do. I have some thoughts on how the playoffs should be built, and this has been a lot of controversy over the years, but
okay, let's hear it.
I think that how you rank the teams and seed them should go by number 1 team to number 16 team. It shouldn't matter whether it's East or West, because a lot of teams in the West get screwed every year, and they have better records than half of the East teams that are making the playoffs. So I think if you want the best competition, and I know people complain because, oh, well, what if you have, Washington playing Orlando and that that distance. But I feel like there's got to be a way to figure it out and make it, because I think that's what the fans always have wanted. They want to see the best basketball played, and I think how exciting would it be to see a East and a West team play and before the finals? I think it would make things interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't put too much thought into it because it's just been this way forever. But I like that idea. I mean, it would kind of suck because the Pistons would get bounced out probably in this scenario. But at least this year they would. But I think that's interesting, and you're right, because I like the 9th and the 10th seed in the West are better than probably the 8th and the 7th seed in the East. So I don't have the West standings in front of me right now, but it's interesting, and Adam Silver's been making some changes. So like with the especially with the draft and how that works, but yeah. I don't know. What do you think? Have you heard? Is this just an idea that you've just had that you wanted to bring up, or has there been talk of maybe a playoff format change? It's because the West is just so dominant right now.
I mean, I've definitely had this thought before, but it recently, within the last couple of years, it's had spurts of conversations, and it usually happens around the playoff time. But I've always thought it's an interesting way to think about it, because when you have like college football or college basketball, it's just best team. Best teams get in, and it doesn't matter about conference as much. So
yeah,
I don't know. I like that thought of it, because you want the two best teams facing in the championship, correct?
Right.
So if we're getting the best East team versus the best West team, like we do now, maybe the second best West team, maybe the Warriors and Spurs would be a better finals than the Cavs and Warriors. You never know. So I'm just big on seeing the best series that you could see.
Yeah. Okay. And I think that would really change the landscape of the NBA too, like in terms of like who goes where. Like people might be afraid to go to like a mid-tier team in the West now because they're going to get dominated all the time. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yep. So going on to, what do you think about the next coming up for the Pistons' future? What do you think about that?
All right, so I want to get into the Clippers game a little bit more in depth, but for starters, just surface level, next we've got the Clippers coming up tonight, Friday night, and then on Sunday we have the Hawks, Monday we have the Pelicans, Wednesday we have the Hawks again, and then Friday, a week from today, we have the Celtics. So we have 4 very, very winnable games coming up in our future to put us up at a 9-game winning streak if we take care of all of them. And then we have the Celtics, which is definitely a big test. It'll be our first like huge test with Blake Griffin, I think, against our first top tier team with him. And then we still won't have Reggie back by then. Well, maybe, I don't know. I heard yesterday George Blaha said that we should have him after the All-Star break. So I know
that's what people are saying.
Yeah, and the All-Star break is the 16th, I think, like the week of the 14th, something like that, 16th, somewhere. Yeah,
that'll be after this next weekend. So
yeah, and then the Celtics game is the 23rd. So it might be like maybe one of his first games back if he's back by then. So that'll be cool if we have our like true starting lineup against the Celtics. But do you agree that the Clippers, Hawks, and Pelicans, and the Hawks again are all like very winnable games?
Yeah, they definitely should be. Our hardest test will probably be the Clippers. The Hawks, obviously, the bottom of the barrel for the league. But the Pelicans are missing DeMarcus Cousins out for a year.
Yep.
So they're definitely handicapped too. So those 3 games definitely. And then the Clippers, I don't see them. I definitely see them as a threat, as a good game. But they're definitely beatable for a game where we're having momentum and we've been playing well. So I think that's definitely a winnable game. If we win that, we'll be well on our way to getting that 9-game win streak before facing the Celtics the 23rd.
Yeah, so the Pistons, obviously, like we've said a million times, are on a 5-game winning streak with Blake Griffin, but I haven't really looked into the Clippers that much with Tobias Harris, Boban, and Avery Bradley, how it's been going over there. They're on a 2-game winning streak right now. And they're in 9th place in the West, sitting at 27 and 25. So yeah, they have a better record than us, and they're in 9th place. Well, I guess we're in 9th place too. But yeah, so 2 9th place teams. They have a good record. It'll be nice to see Avery Bradley and Tobias Harris again, and Boban. I don't know if Boban's playing much there. I hope he is.
I haven't heard anything from him.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to watching this one tonight. It's we'll probably have a breakdown if we get the time tomorrow. We might have another episode 2 already of a breakdown of this game. But going into it, I think the Pistons are looking good. It'll be cool to see Blake, because Blake went out of LA, like in terms of how he went out. I think it's favorable to him. Like he's not going to go there and get booed out of the building or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they still like him there in LA. He's had nothing but good things to say about them, and he found out he was traded on Twitter, so it's not like he was like whining and moaning about wanting to get out of there. So it'll be cool. I don't remember. I think it's an away game. It might be home. I don't know.
I believe that it is. It should be home.
Oh yeah, it is a home game. It's in Detroit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It'll just be cool to see the old guys, or Tobias Harris and Avery Bradley and Boban.
Yeah, nine out of their 12 games this month are home, so
okay.
That should be favorable for us to make a good playoff push. And we have the fourth easiest remaining schedule left in the. I think it was the NBA, if not the East, but. So it's definitely doable for us to make playoffs.
And it's on ESPN, so that'll be cool to get more like national broadcast TV attention. Our last one was against the Cavs, when the day we made the Blake Griffin trade, and we had our busted lineup, and we still beat the Cavs. We scored like 121 on them, I think it was 127.
Yeah, something like that. And it was definitely interesting to see how the NBA moved as soon as that trade happened, maybe a day after or the day of, they switched our game to ESPN versus the Clippers, which was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, that's cool, because like a lot of eyes are going to be on that game. Hopefully, we basically just have to keep playing like we have been playing. Griffin has been doing his thing, of course. Andre, if anything, has stepped up compared to what he was playing beforehand. And Stanley Johnson's really stepped up. Ish and Langston have been playing really well. Anthony Tolliver's playing really well. It's just like it's been a great week and a half.
Yeah, another nice thing about having Jameer Nelson playing in the lineup, it'll give Langston a lot more time to just be able to score. And I personally don't think that they have given Langston Galloway enough chances this year. There's a lot of games where I don't think they play him enough, and he does have that quick trigger. So like if he's off, he's off. But if he's on, like, he is a deadly weapon. Like, I just say give him the ball and get out of the way.
Yeah.
You know, like he's fun to watch when he gets hot, and he's a really good spark for our bench, and I think that he's important to our team's success, especially right now while we're dealing with the Reggie Jackson injury. So
yeah,
and Stanley Johnson too has been playing really well and confident.
Yep. Yeah, that's really important. Langston, he had like quite a few clutch shots yesterday, or not yesterday, but in the game against the Nets. He hit one like really deep three that he just like pulled up and shot it. It wasn't at the end of the shot clock or anything. He wasn't like wide open. He was just feeling it, I guess, and drained it. So that was cool to see. Ish is driving. He's so good at like getting to the basket, really, like for his size, and obviously he's not like a big powerhouse, but he's just really good at just weaving his way to the hoop and like putting up a good shot. Or if he doesn't get there, he's good at just making his own like mid-range shot that he makes more often than not.
Yeah, he's fun. He's like, I really enjoy watching him, and the way he pushes the tempo of the game, and he's also. There might be 1 or 2 times out of 10 where he's out of control, but for the most part he knows what he's doing. He's very methodical with how he wants to push the tempo and put pressure on the defense. But anytime he's driving to the hoop on like in transition, I almost always trust him to make the right decision. And he's a great scorer, great finisher around the rim. And last game he had a drive. And it was like a one-on-one transition drive, and he had the ball, and he took off one leg, and you could see everyone on the bench thought he was about to throw it down, and he just has that sneaky vertical that people don't give him credit for. I mean, he's listed about 6 foot tall, but he jumps like he's a 6'3", 6'4" guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I know what layup you're talking about. Where he did like a finger roll, but he basically just kind of like dropped it into the basket. Like he got up really high. If we're thinking about the same one, but
yeah, he definitely could have turned his hand over and threw it down. But maybe he thought he was gonna get some contact, so he went for the finger roll. But I definitely like Ish Smith. He's very unselfish, and hopefully Reggie Jackson, when he comes back in the lineup, he defers to Blake Griffin and kind of lets it be Blake Griffin's team and then just plays off of him and becomes like a nice spot up shooter and just does his thing.
Yeah, that's something I'm worried about. It's great seeing Blake and Andre. It's great seeing their chemistry back and forth. And then I really hope once Reggie gets inserted there, it can become like a three-headed monster. And hopefully Reggie doesn't disrupt that. Like, I really hope he can just add to it and not take away. Because I really like him as a player, and I think he's a great starting point guard. So hopefully he doesn't try to like make it the Reggie Jackson show again and can just play that like Detroit oriented team basketball. And if anything, it should be more focused on Blake than him.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to watch how he comes back into the lineup. But I think that when you just see him interact with Blake Griffin, I think that everyone knows it's Blake Griffin's team, which I love that because we've needed that, type of guy that can just be the leader on and off the court. And it looks like Blake Griffin's kind of just playing basketball. He's not worried about taking over or being like making like the teammates think that he's too selfish. So, and even Stan Van Gundy said he's like, I think Blake Griffin has handled this situation perfectly. So.
Yep, it's been all positive so far. Someone's name that I haven't mentioned yet. I don't know how I went 45 minutes ish without mentioning him yet, but Luke Kennard is a player that I like a lot. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just because he's like our first round rookie draft pick or something, but like I obviously because he's a Piston, I want him to succeed and everything, but there's something about it, like every single shot that he makes, I like hope and pray and wish everything that it goes in every single time. Like there's just something about him.
You're rooting for him.
Yeah, like I'm really rooting for him. I don't really know what it is. Like he's a great shooter, but yeah, there's just another player that I think he hasn't exactly stepped it up. I think he's kind of playing at the same level that he's been playing out all season. He hasn't had like a big growth like maybe Stanley Johnson has had over the past few games. But yeah, Kennard is just another guy that I like to see him play as much as possible. I know Stan Van Gundy isn't exactly rookie friendly, but he seems to be getting good minutes and making the most out of them. Maybe not the most out of them, but like he's been a solid backup shooting guard.
Yeah, I think that Luke Kennard will definitely help us. He'll be it's weird because he plays with such patience as a rookie, which is very rare to see. He's very poised, and he also is confident, but I just don't think that he's found his niche within the rotation and like the offensive flow. So he's just being a rookie right now. But I think once he gets comfortable and like we start using him through the offense and making more plays for him and trusting him, and Stan Van Gundy has more trust in him, that he'll truly be like a weapon, like a Manu Ginobili, JJ Redick. Like he could be a spot up shooter and he can create plays for other people. He's a great passer. He has a little bit of dribbling. He's not the most athletic, but he does make work of what he has, and I do like him. He's a very intelligent, high basketball IQ guy, so I like him, and I like where he's going in his career. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah, I agree. He missed a few shots against the Nets that I think he should have made for sure, but he did have one really nice play where he drove and then he like faked that he was going to spin and kind of put the ball up a little bit for a pump fake, and the guy that was on him totally bid on it, and he like flew out of the way, so then he was able to spin around the other way and get a nice easy shot in the lane, and I thought that was really cool to see. It made the crowd like react to it. It's nice when you get that audible reaction from the crowd. That's always cool.
Yeah, he's very crafty. I think that once he grows into his his play style and his body and everything, that he'll have those games where he goes off for 25, 30, maybe 40 once in a while, because he just has an act for scoring like he did at Duke. So yeah, I'm really excited for him. I think that was a solid pick, even though we could have had Donovan Mitchell, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, you can't dwell on the past. Like, of course, like you can always nitpick, but we've got what we've got, so we've got to make the most out of it.
Yep. So, yeah, we got a couple games, and then we got All-Star Weekend next weekend. What are your thoughts on that?
So we will, in terms of, I don't know if you mean like on the game or on this podcast, but we will be doing a All-Star episode. I think one of my favorite things is, I've been doing podcasts for a little while now, and one of my favorite things to do is predictions, whether it's video games or music or whatever. And so I want to do a podcast where we predict who's going to win each game, or like each challenge, the dunk contest, all that stuff, and then like talk about the game itself. But I like that we've got Andre Drummond in it. It's nice to have a representative there. I like that Andre's been in the skills challenge now. Whether that's, I mean, like I know it's because of injury, but like it sucks to see guys go down. But in the end, like it's cool to see him. I'm really curious. The skills challenge ends with a 3-point shot or a half court shot. I think it's a 3-point shot.
Yeah, they change it every year, so it's hard to say what they're gonna do this year. Last year they did bigs and littles, and they did like a one-on-one thing. Back in the day where they had Dwayne Wade and D Rose, they'd just do one person at a time throughout the course. So we'll see what they do with the rules this year, but it should be fun.
Yeah, I really hope he shows up and like shows up wanting to win. I remember it was either last year or the year before when Karl Anthony Towns was in it. And I didn't really know who he was because I took a year or two break from basketball because of my stupid cable provider, all that. Just I don't know. I had to miss a season or two of basketball, and I wasn't really aware of who Anthony Towns was. But I saw him at the skills challenge, and he went like 100 miles per hour throughout the whole thing. He like really, you could tell that he really wanted to win, and I think it's cool. I hate when people just show up there and are like, yeah. This is just like a fun little whatever, and it doesn't matter. I know it doesn't really matter, but if I was there, I just feel like I would give it my all. So it's great to see players do that. I know Andre didn't have the best dunk contest showing when he was there, but it'll just be cool to see like a Detroit representative there, and I hope he shows up and like does well.
Yeah, I'm excited for the predictions, and I'm excited for All-Star Weekend as always. I'm hoping within the next couple of years it's going to have to be not for like at least 2 to 3 to 4 years before they, decide on it. But I'm hoping that Detroit hosts an All-Star Weekend in Little Caesars Arena, since it being a new arena. I think it'd be a great place to go for All-Star Weekend, and you'll definitely see me there.
Oh yeah, we got to go together. I'm down. I'm down to go.
Definitely. But yeah, I'm excited for next week, and I'm hoping that everyone else is also excited, and I'm excited to see what other people comment on the video and see their predictions and see who's right at the end of it.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be cool. Real quick, because I think we should be wrapping up soon, but what do you think of the format this year with like Team LeBron versus Team Steph versus the East and the West? What do you think about that?
I do think I like it because like just the same thing as the playoffs, you'll always see the same teams with the West stars and the East, and the West always has more exciting stars, and the East just has LeBron. And then you have a bunch of Toronto Raptors and Wizards, and that's just not exciting for me. But I like that they have the draft, and I didn't really think anything would change in the All-Star Weekend. But after they announced that the winners would each player would win $100,000, that was a great idea. And I think that every year they should up the ante a little more so that you get to see more effort. And I'm obviously not saying they have to go 100% and you're going to see injuries, but I want to see players at least try,
Yeah,
so
for more than just the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, so I think it's a good incentive, and I like where they're going with this.
Yeah, when I saw that they made that announcement where they doubled the prize winnings for the winners, I think that's a great idea. Like you said, we don't need to be having like go all out where they're trying to get injured or whatever. But $100,000 is still a lot of money to them, so they can still like. They're still obviously going to want to go for it and try to get that win, but it's not enough to ruin like the funness of the game. Like when, like it was either last year or the year before when Antetokounmpo, I think that's how you say his name. When
Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak.
Yeah, the Greek Freak. When he had like that fast break and Steph Curry just laid on the ground and let him jam it. Like you still want to see that kind of cool thing at the All-Star game. Because it's obviously more for fun, but at the same time, the competitiveness is what we're there for, and we want to see like an actual game with these all-star teams. So I like that idea.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, I'm excited for this podcast. I think it has a long way to go, but I think it has potential. I think that you guys will enjoy this. I think me and Sean will also enjoy this as we get better at it and start doing it more. But yeah, this is just the one of many episodes, and I think with the NBA, there's always going to be something to talk about, whether it's in season, it's playoffs, it's free agency, it's summer league, it's the draft, the start of the season, preseason. It's a full year thing. So I'm hoping that you guys engage, you guys enjoy it, and I'm happy to do it for you guys.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Obviously, if you liked this video, please subscribe. On my channel right here. These are going to be put up on youtube.com/MediaMiller. So but when you go there, you'll see I have a lot of other videos. I do reactions on like wrestling. I have gameplay videos like for video games and hip hop and just a bunch of different stuff. So I'm just adding this NBA and this Pistons podcast to my repertoire. Mike obviously has his own YouTube channel where he has his MVen Gaming. So search MVen Gaming, and then you'll find his channel there. And then he also has his MV Podcast where he talks about just whatever it is he wants to talk about and by himself. So check that out, of course. Just search him on YouTube, and he pops right up there. So again, thank you very, very much, you beautiful listener, for listening to us. And until next time, we're out.
One last thing is that there will be probably links in the outro video and the description, but thank you.
Yes, most definitely. You can search them, but of course, it'll be easier to just look in the description, click on the links there. Okay, we're done plugging stuff. See you next time.